Okay.
Okay. Next, we have Sustainable Westchester.
Dan, just a moment. He's on Zoom.
That's good.
Roger and Leo too, or just Dan?
No, this is
Roger
all,
and Leo too, or just Dan?
no, this is only Dan.
Yeah, I thought there was some.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is Roger and Leo were here the last time.
that's right.
I don't know if I did the camera. No, I didn't. Hold on.
Oh, good.
Oh, here I am. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. Yeah, just me tonight. I think, Leo would have been for a separate topic for it. And I understand you have separate dialogue with him. First of all, thanks for facilitating me coming by Zoom with the weather as it is. I think cowardice is the better part of valor. So.
Oh, I was shoveling everybody's driveways. That's why I'm letting them.
Yeah, but all the snow. It's hard to
There's so much snow.
Yeah,
The
so
Snow
much
Angels
snow.
did a great job. And
They're quick.
Public Works did a great job.
I would rather have it this way than shovel 6 inches of partly cloudy out of my driveway.
Yeah, right.
Well, I've been joking. I bought a snowblower this year. I've been shoveling for decades, but I said, I'm older, forget it. I got a nice electric snowblower. And of course, because I did that, there's been no snow all year.
Well, thank you.
So you can all thank me for that.
Get that.
Yeah.
That's like me installing a generator, and now for 8 years since I installed it, there's not been one blackout in my area.
Nice. Your
Just the way it is. Just the way it
Just how
is.
it is.
neighbors can thank you for that.
We're here for a serious topic.
Yes. So thanks for making the time, and I know you wanted to come in and just do a check-in, and it's primarily driven by the rate situation, right? Con Ed rates are lower than the program rates at this time, and we got a message from Paul suggesting that we do a mailing just to make sure that people are all aware of it and they can exercise their choices about this. Maybe though, just real quickly, if you give me like 37 seconds, since this is a public session and maybe not everybody knows what we're talking about, I'll do the quick overview. I'm here for representing Sustainable Westchester and in charge of the Westchester Power Electricity Supply Program. It's a community bulk supply electricity program whose main goal is to drive the uptake of renewable energy in the county. It's part of a whole portfolio of different energy programming that Sustainable Westchester provides for its member municipalities. And the key feature of the Westchester Power Program is when the municipality takes up the program, it becomes a new default for the municipality, and folks get notified about the start of the program by a letter, and they have to actually raise their hand to say, I'd rather not opt in order not to be enrolled. So that's the so-called opt-out enrollment mechanism. These programs are now spread around New York State to the extent that they now comprise the largest part of the renewable energy voluntary market. That's outside of the mandatory sliver, which goes on on everybody's bill as part of the clean energy standard. But as far as voluntary purchases are concerned, CCAs, that's the community choice aggregation, like Westchester Power, are now the biggest part of that market in New York State. And the other feature is we've generally had fixed rates. So we have a contract with a supplier. They become the supplier for that term, and people can opt in and opt out at any time. But the contract, the ESCO supplier is obliged to supply at those fixed rates during that term for anybody who is in. Our current contract for the Con Ed area is the renewable energy price is 15.128 cents per kilowatt hour, and the standard rate is 13.364 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's kind of just the backdrop. I thought that'd be good for just to bring everybody up to the same spot there. But the Con Ed rates have not quite gone where we thought they were going to go, or where the markets had predicted them to go. Back when we were doing the bidding in the fall, we were looking at all kinds of crazy factors coming in. We'd already come out of a period where exports of energy, natural gas, which is the driver for electricity pricing, because that's what most of the generation is done by, were already increasing. Then you had the war in Ukraine coming, and that all of a sudden, with the boycotts and everything, raised that even higher. Supply couldn't keep up, but we didn't know where anything was going, and the market was just going nuts. And even just a couple of weeks after that, you actually literally had the pipeline blow up, and then after that, we get, as we just talked about, essentially winter, despite the weather you're seeing today, has been historically warm. So all those factors have come in and depressed the actual the market, and so that is below where the program pricing is right now. The Con Ed average over the past during these few months that the contract's been in effect has been about 10.4 cents or something like that, and or 10.55 or something like that. And we're up, as I said, no, I'm sorry, wait, for the 22, let me just look here. I'm sorry, the average in the past couple of months has been about 11 cents. The 10.55 was the 2022 average in the beginning of the year. So we're up, we're about 4 cents over the Con Ed price right now for the renewable, and about 2.5 over for the standard. So that's significant. In 2022, we were 3 cents better than Con Ed. If you go back to 2021, we were about on par, and that's with the green power as well. So you could actually go under with the standard power. So we want people to know what the rates are. The proposal is made to get something out there, and we're happy to do that. It's we always want to make sure that people have all the information they need. So it's about looking at what we've drafted here, I guess, and answering any of your questions about what's going on, and trying to make that happen.
I had a question that a resident.
I think you wanted to speak on this too, right? You wanted to speak on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, would you introduce yourself?
David Sherman. I live in the section of Ardsley.
So, yeah, I didn't mean to.
I was just going to ask. A lot of residents are upset with the opt-out provision, since the Con Ed rates have been lower than the ESCO. Is the town bound by the 2000, by the agreement that we all agreed to, or is there a way for us to say, what, there'd be a period of time where people would not have to opt out, people could just opt in, because a lot of people, the postcard and the letter is good, but a lot of people don't read anything. And that's are we bound by the contract that that the 29 municipalities have signed on to?
You say we agreed to, we didn't.
No, I'm talking about the town, right? But
Yeah.
the town has.
I thought you were with Sustainable.
No.
And that's
No,
why you wanted to speak.
I'm an
Sorry.
independent citizen of
Okay.
Greenberg.
Oh, okay.
And-
I apologize.
Do I have permission to speak?
So
or-
one
or
second,
is-
one second.
Yeah.
Dan, just before this gentleman makes his comments,
Yeah.
can you just explain to the public, while we have you here, how the renewable energy supply products contribute to New York State clean energy goals? Because it's not clear necessarily from the letter that you handed out. And because we have been enrolled for 7 years. We just want to reinitiate the public to why that is the case.
Great. Thank you for asking that. And yeah, we've been focused so much on the numbers that we sometimes forget about why we're doing this at all. And it is indeed to help further our efforts to move to a clean energy economy. And those efforts are well structured in terms of the state's goals that they've set out, which is to reach 70% renewable energy by 2030 and zero emissions from our electricity sector by 2040. And those are incredibly aggressive goals. They're only now at the state level starting to flesh out the plan, which is going to see those in execution. We've always prided ourselves in Westchester as being, concerned about the environment and trying to work towards solving these problems. So we'd like to think we're a little bit ahead of that, and in a sense. And by moving into a product like this, the renewable energy product, you are negating the emissions associated with your electricity usage. So this has resulted in Westchester County, through the participation of the 29 municipalities that are now in, which now as of last year includes Yonkers, negating something like 200,000 tons plus, about 219,000 tons per year of CO2 greenhouse gas emissions. And it's, as I say, it is kind of the cornerstone of a portfolio of approaches, which include trying to take that and leverage it even further as we sort of increase our outreach and educate people. We engage them on with the grid rewards program, which, by the way, is a great time to sign up for that for the summer peak seasons. You can save a couple $100 on that in your bill and help reduce the peaker plant usage. Greenberg's obviously been in a very fruitful discussions with my colleague Leo Wiegman on the solar side. We actually see those things coming together through this program in the future as we look to diversify our procurement strategies and perhaps even use local supply as part of the stack of supply that we would procure. So it's part of making that journey to a clean economy, really important, not only for the climate change things, which used to be far away, but are now getting close. You've got Buffalo with 10 feet of snow, and nearly every day you can read about some pretty horrendous tipping point that we're coming closer to. So it is about the future and about building this economy that's going to serve future generations.
But
so is it that residents who are enrolled in the program are purchasing renewable energy, or are they contributing to a community renewable energy source that is then being used to distribute energy to other households?
It's kind of in between there. We're purchasing renewable energy certificates, if you want to get sort of into the mechanics of it, which are each one represents a megawatt hour of power produced by a renewable energy generator. These are hydro facilities in the north of New York, and they're registered with the Department of State as what they call the NIGATS, New York State Generating Asset Tracking System. It's like a big accounting system. So basically, the way we like to look at it is the grid is basically a big soup of electrons. It has to stay energized at a certain level in order to service everybody. And you can't track one electron to your doorstep, but what you do is you pay the clean energy generators to put your part of it into the grid. And that's essentially what we do through this, monetization through this renewable energy certificate. It is different from, I think also there's a tendency to mix it up with the community solar piece, which is kind of another one where, yes, you become like a subscriber and you're helping to put that facility online, which is separate but complementary and a great thing to do as well.
But the question, I had, earlier is we signed a contract, last year, and we said the contract is good until October of 2024. Is that now a binding, contract, and, are we basically, is the only recourse, residents who are upset with this have is, a letter being sent, or does the town have are there other options? Because, again, a lot of people are upset that the rates are significantly higher than the Con Ed rates.
And this letter says you may opt out or back in or change supply options at any point under this program. There's no contracts, exit fees, or penalties.
No, I'm talking about the town, because
I don't believe there was a termination clause, but I will double check
right,
that.
but I'm asking Dan if that's something that, I'm not saying that the town will terminate, but I'm saying that instead of, is that an option that the town, other municipalities would have if municipalities say, let's say another month goes by, another 2 months goes by, and it turns out that, the rates keep being consistently higher, then should the town have the ability of or should Sustainable Westchester perhaps say, we've looked at this, we're going to put everything on hold, we're going to get out of the contract, and then when the climate is better, we could always, go back in, because people are real. I'm getting a lot of calls. I've been emailing Dan every single day, and I do get calls, daily from residents who are just upset.
But I guess what I was saying is that residents have the option to opt in or out.
But most people.
Okay, so let me just, not being an attorney, so if you want that level of advice, you would want to ask your attorney. But just in general, in principle, the contract is a contract which awards to the supplier the rights to supply these customers on an opt-out basis. So that's kind of the actual thing which is contracted for. Those suppliers, after they go through this enrollment process, there's a relationship, even if not contractual, as in they have a piece of paper, but they have now an obligation to supply these customers as the supplier. And it's kind of between them at that point, like even if we could cancel the contract, which there's nothing in the contract for which would say that rates going in a particular place would be cause, but it still wouldn't cancel the relationship between the supplier and the enrolled customers.
You had mentioned the war in Iraq, in Ukraine, and the warmer weather, but that also affects Con Edison. Can you explain why Con Edison is able to weather the storm more than the ESCO?
Well, what I'm saying is that if you go back to when we were bidding, you recall that both Con Ed and NYSEG and Governor Hochul and everybody was actually issuing warnings that the rates were going to go sky high this winter. And what happened is they went high, but not sky high. And as I say, it was, those factors that we just talked about, the weather helped to turn that around, where, if you had, frankly, people freezing in Europe, the alarm level would have been way higher. The fact that the gas had been cut up from Russia would have been, there would have been a lot more screaming, and the pull of those rates, for our market would have been higher than it was. So that's probably a big piece of it. So the weather and that connection there.
Now you're willing to send out that letter that you sent us, a draft or a revised letter to everyone who's currently enrolled?
Yeah, no, we're willing to send that out. originally the idea, the proposal was a card, but I just thought, I don't want to send out like just something with rates on it and nothing else. And she said, some people are not oriented or anything. So I figured, all right, if we're going to do this, let's at least, we've got the rates really prominent on there, but then we're, giving the backdrop on the program and everything, so that at least they have the context to work with.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I would. Thank you. So again, I'm David Sherman, live in
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You don't actually live in Ardsley. You said you're in the Greenberg.
I'm Greenberg section of Ardsley. So my
All of
street is
Ardsley.
Ardsley, but I don't, I'm part of Greenberg. The top of my street is Greenberg.
Right.
Ardsley
So-
PO, Greenberg
Right.
address.
In other words, you're Ardsley post office, but you're an unincorporated Greenberg.
Correct.
Okay.
I never actually know how to frame that. So
Okay.
thank you.
People are here 20, 30 years.
Right. So I wanted to address this ESCO issue. Couple of things. First of all, it's slight misrepresentation of the facts, I think, when the gentleman says that
You bring the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. when rates are higher by 4 cents. So to the ear, it sounds like it's only 4 cents, but in reality, it's 36% higher. So in order for the math to work, the rates of the ESCOs have to come down significantly in the future months and years to make up for that difference. Now, I read Paul's emails out to the citizens monthly, I guess, and he puts out those rates, very clear. I haven't seen any of those with the ESCO rates lower. But even if there's like a 1% difference, it's not right. And furthermore, the gentleman up there said, I think rather flippantly, that all they have to do is raise their hand and opt out of it. Well, guess what? Elderly can't raise their hand. They don't even know what they don't know. The poor, the lower income people here, they're too busy. They don't see their bill. They see the bill, they complain, oh, it's up $200, roll their eyes, I can't believe how expensive it is, and they go on. They don't know that they can call, and it's a hassle. Why don't they know? Why don't they follow? Because they're busy leading their lives, raising kids, probably working 2 jobs. So these letters came out, and I think that the town, with all due respect, I think did a great disservice to the residents by forcing them, and it is forcing them to take these higher rates through the ESCOs. It should have been the other way. At their expense, they should promote their services to us, as is their right, and let us decide whether we want to go that route or not. And I mean, sir, again, with all due respect, to try to guilt people into paying these higher rates in the name of climate change doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I read recently that the entire United Kingdom, that entire nation's output of carbon into the atmosphere is 2% of the world's carbon pollution, 2%. That's the entire country. So Greenberg itself, and that's what I'm concerned with, I can't speak to Yonkers or any other town, is statistically 0. It has to be. How much, the sleepy little town of Greenberg, how much carbon can we put in the atmosphere? And on top of that, do we want to pay 36% more to reduce that 1 grain of sand on the beach down to half a grain of sand or 0? It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I mean, I think of Ronald Reagan in his farewell address to the nation. He said, don't be afraid to see what you see. That's what I see. And my constituents, not constituents, that's the wrong word, my colleagues on my street. So a lot of us, so we're all here technically savvy. We read emails, we can respond. If I want to take time out of my day to call Con Ed, I can do it. But a lot of people don't know to do that. And so a large percentage of the population, I suspect, are paying these higher rates in the name of climate change and saving the planet for no reason. And furthermore, I would say that on a more macro level, this country's headed into recession. $1 today buys significantly less than last year. And $1 next year is going to pay for less services than this year. So every little dollar is going to count. And okay, if my electric bill goes up from $500 to $700, I can complain about it and go on with my life. A lot of people can't. And these ESCOs are putting these people in a position where they're paying these higher rates and they don't even know they're doing it. So what I would suggest, it's not going to happen, but what I would suggest is, okay, you're bound to the contract, which I didn't know. In 2024, everybody should be switched to Con Ed and let them decide. The people have to decide. I mean, it's not the town's decision. Shouldn't force citizens to pay these higher rates. So let us decide, not you. Let us decide that. And then secondly, what I think you should do, which is not going to happen, but you should set up a fund and reimburse the citizens for that mistake. Admit you made a mistake. Everybody does that. I teach my boys, I said, make a mistake. It's part of life. Admit it and move on. And in this case, that's what you should do. And you make a fund and rebate people, probably at their expense, not at the town's expense. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman.
And thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, again, the concern that I have is based on the, responses I'm getting from a lot of, seniors who really were not aware that they could opt out. And I'm glad that Sustainable Westchester is going to send a postcard, but only a certain number of people are going to read the postcard, no matter what. And we could try to educate people, but a lot of people, just are not aware of the fact that they're automatically enrolled. And again, it's been a few months and it's consistently higher, the ESCO rates and the Con Ed rates. So I feel really bad because I like the fact that Sustainable Westchester is giving us green energy, but at the same time, I don't like the idea that some people say they just can't afford it, and we're being charged extra, and it's really creating quality of life problems for them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I just want to know what we could do
Legally, what we can do.
Well, I think we have to be bound to the contract, but we might not be bound thereafter.
Right. I mean, this is till October 2024. So the only other question I was going to ask Dan is, could you give us a history? Because my understanding is that, last year, before this contract went into effect, actually people signed up for the ESCO actually did better than Con Ed. And over the past number of years, we've been in this for what is about 7 years already, you said? So year one, the ESCO customers did better. Year two, the ESCO. No, I'm just.
I don't have.
When I was enrolled in ESCO before before the town became enrolled in this particular program, and what I recall having happened is that whenever the Con Ed rates were lower than the ESCO rates, I got a check in the mail for the difference that I over maybe it was like once a quarter or something like that.
If the ESCO rates were higher,
yeah,
you got a check for the differential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you were in one of the kind of rare guaranteed saving programs. Those have disappeared. There were a couple of ESCOs that were offering that, and it was on a kind of case-by-case basis. They would look at your history and everything and take you. But yeah, in today's crazy volatile market, nobody is doing that.
It's definitely disappeared. I'm now enrolled in the town-wide one.
Yeah. I don't have the total history, but definitely, we were pretty much on a break even on average for the first couple of years. We had a bad section around 2019, and then the next contract we did really well. Like last period was good, and we were up. As I say, in 2022 we were like 3 cents better than Con Ed, and so it's up and down. On the whole, is it a wash at this point? I'm not sure, adding those all up, how they'll turn out, but it's a matter of going out there to the market. And I've always said we're not guaranteeing savings, but what we're doing is using, an open bidding process and trying to get the best pricing we can on renewable energy and, doing it competitively.
But it would be interesting for the public to have like an annual, comparison, because if we said, year one, everybody came out ahead, year two, everybody came out, you had year three, it was behind, year four, everybody came out ahead, then, that it was a wash, then this could be, people, then it shows that, we had,
Right.
legitimate grounds to sign up again. On the other hand, if every single year or most of the time, the customers came out behind, then it's probably a mistake what we did, because the opt-out doesn't real, is not fair. And again, there's some people, if I want to use green energy, I should have the right to use green energy, but I shouldn't be forcing it on other people who can't afford it.
Well, it's unfortunate that in this economy where costs are so high that this has happened. So it's just a confluence of a couple of bad things, which is really a shame, because, the intent is to do what's right for our environment. But, that crashes against the reality of making our day-to-day living more comfortable. So
right now, I guess, when do you think you would send out the letter to everybody, who's enrolled?
We could start on the production process, right away, and normally it takes probably 10 days to get it to the printing house, get all the data and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it could be out within 10 days.
So what I would suggest, Dan, is to just try and look at your letter again, and maybe have someone who's not involved with Sustainable Westchester read it, and try to make it crystal clear why this program, what residents who are enrolled in the program are paying for, and how it's helping the environment, because it's very technical in nature. And I don't think that your average senior citizen would read the letter and understand why paying the higher rate is better for the environment than not. You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm always trying to balance like too many words with.
Sure.
And also, remember that somebody may be sort of learning this for the first time, or not, not having paid that much attention, that we also kind of have to paint the total picture at the same time. So, but I think we can go back to it and try to make sure that point is coming through a little stronger, since it obviously isn't registering. And maybe it means the letter's a tiny bit longer, but we can definitely take it.
But ultimately, it could help people want to remain enrolled.
Yeah.
If it's clear.
Yeah. No.
Going to take a look and come up with something that you think would be a better letter.
Sure. I mean, if you want to send me a draft, Dan, I can take a look.
Yeah, he said you have to.
No, I mean, I have this draft, but I want him to make it clearer and then send me that draft. Or someone.
I just really would like to me, what I'd like to say is saying, Greenberg and 29 communities in Westchester signed up for the ESCO. The goal was to pool our resources to get the best possible rates. There was a bidding process. Unfortunately, the climate is unusual, and Con Ed rates are lower than the ESCO. If you want to opt out, this is the price, the most recent prices. Every month, on around the 5th of the month, the town, on the town website, and Sustainable Westchester will give rate comparisons. You could opt out now, do it by, through email. It's very simple. Or you could opt out anytime you want, or you could opt back in, and make it like a 3-paragraph, like a real simple card That's not technical. The only other thing that I was going to
Is
ask.
this a card or a letter?
This is clearly a letter.
But what you're referring to is going to be a letter or a postcard?
I would rather have a card because I think more people would read it. But you know,
But you can't
whatever.
put too much, but you're
Can't get
putting too much information. That's way too much information. Once, I
Okay,
mean,
then-
like,
then it
this
could
is
be a letter.
long, like.
Yeah, it could be a letter, whatever you want. The only other thought that I had, based on, you know, the comments that were made just a few minutes ago, is I realize that we're bound by a contract, you know, and we can't get out of the contract. Is there any possibility that Sustainable Westchester may be willing to, for people, say, who are lower income, or, you know, senior citizens, be willing to do a refund in terms of the comparisons? If, you know, because I'm sort of wondering, you know, if somebody has a real hardship, this could mean, you know, this is really like a, you know,
I think that's
$20
a
here,
question for Dan
$30.
to answer.
So let me just make sure everybody understands that the customers who say qualify for the heating assistance program are excluded from this program in the first place, just so you know that much, right? So they're like, there's, you know, some filtering on how, you know, economic level there.
But to that point, I mean, you may have individuals who fall in the middle of that or right above that.
That's
So
true.
what happens to that? What happens to that population? How do we address that? And there has to be some allowance for that.
Yeah.
At that particular point, I could afford it, but now, you know, with everything rising, I can't. So, and just because I don't fall in what is defined as low income, now, you know, I'm still at a loss.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly true. I just wanted for the record and for the audience to know that the folks who are on assistance are not in the program, but you're correct there.
So we just try to figure out, you know, where can we meet in the middle somewhere, because we have to do something.
I just want to add that, you know, many of us have a favorite store. We know the prices are likely higher than others. We don't do this all the time, of course, but because of the value added of that particular store, you go to them even though you know the prices are higher. And I would think that Sustainable Westchester could build better goodwill rather than just numbers every month. If they would help, I mentioned this last week, you know, my issue with SunPower. It would help tremendously if, without saying use a particular company, you could help those that are getting knocks on their door from solar companies, and they're all different. And, you know, I thought I was going with high end and apparently respected company, but it would be helpful to have, you know, some place like Sustainable Westchester, which what you say, it's an organization in furtherance of efforts to transition to clean energy economy. What better than, you know, people doing solar if they can. But
yes,
that's really not that's not really coming other than community solar. Because I even signed a contract for solar, but then they couldn't put up on the roof what the salesman said that they could provide. And where does that leave the homeowner? Because you're the experts, but that is not something that Sustainable Westchester does. And I think if you were to help very confused customers, then even though you might be higher, they might say, but I get this advice or whatever, without saying use a particular company or whatever, you know, if you follow what I'm trying to say.
No, and I think that I was trying to emphasize that the program is actually, you know, part of a whole portfolio. So in terms of assistance for individual homeowners to do rooftop solar, I imagine you also mentioned this to Leo, and we are trying to secure some support from NYSERDA to be able to deploy, you know, a reinvigorated solarized program. You know, a few years back, we did do that throughout Westchester County and had, you know, a couple of thousand signups, and those people are now, you know, doing better for having done that. And we're definitely right behind you. We have the whole clean heating program with Lauren and Rachel, and they're out there constantly trying to help people access the various incentives that are available to make your home more efficient, more comfortable, and, you know, save you money ultimately and get you off of fossil fuels. And all this is happening, you know, we get a 0.1 cent per kilowatt hour administrative fee, you know, a tenth of a penny. And basically from the beginning, I've always sort of tried to bootstrap all that into as much beneficial activity as possible. And I think have been largely successful. Obviously, getting from here to where we want to go, you know, it's never been easy. And you know, we do run into these kind of situations. We want to navigate through this, be transparent, give everybody a chance to you know, understand, be able to opt out, and, you know, just do right by the program and by folks. We're also working now to consider, you know, whether this is kind of a new energy world with these gyrating prices, and considering different options, where I think I've mentioned that we're looking at trying to build up the capacity to reach into the wholesale market. And maybe we don't go out for as long as we have, and we're doing, like, you know, 3-month rolling blocks to bring stability, but never get out, you know, so far away from the market. So that's something we're actively working on. It would probably, you know, the next contracts to come up are for NYSEG and Yonkers. So we'll be talking to them about that as one of their options, you know. So we're not sitting static on this, and we're trying to look for every place that we can to try and generate value for individuals, for residents, and fulfill the mission at the same time, you know.
Understood.
I just have one other question. Just to
Paul.
conclude this, would we be able to give the town board like a week to edit the letter, and then we could circulate it, and then next week we could, you know, maybe you could come back and we could agree on the wording, and then you know, could be clear, and then it could be sent out right, you know, then you could go to the printer right after. And then we could, you know, we could have more input as to what it says, and we want it to be as clear and easy to understand, you know, as possible. I'm willing to take a stab at you know, at doing the editing also, if you'd like.
Well, once he gives us the copy of the letter.
He did.
and
He gave it to us
draft, and then
yesterday.
We can do it, and then he can bring it back, and then we can.
Yeah, so would that be possible to
Yeah.
put it on the agenda, say next week for like 10 minutes, and
Well,
and
let him get the letter drafted, and then before we don't want to put something out and then we don't meet that date. So let's just let Dan work on the letter, let it circulate to the board so we can take a look at it, and
Okay.
then we can put it on the agenda. Okay, Dan, thank you so much. I'm sorry, we just need to move on. We have.
No, of course. And so, I mean, I'll take a first, I've got some feedback. I'll take a crack at it and an update, send it back to you. And of course, we're ready to work with you at, you know, at all good speed to get this out. So
Thank you so much.
Dan.
Thank you, Dan, very much. Thank you so much.
Okay.